My thing with Coke Zero, everything I do, it's got to be value for money, unless it's the exact opposite end and it's just not at all like microtransactions. But with drinks, it's got to be value for money. And Coke Zero is the same price as the same size can of Coke, but there's less sugar in it. In fact, there's zero. It's not as good value for my money. Yeah. I'm not getting as much.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I totally get it.
I wish this was the script for the ad. The ad for Coke Zero is just Balthazar being like, yeah, I mean, it's like regular Coke, but there's less sugar in it. It's like, and then like the big splash screen comes up and it's like Coke Zero, like normal Coke, but there's less sugar in it. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to the Overcast Gamer Show. My name's Abe Foster. It is 12th of February 2017, and I'm also joined by
Reagan Harper,
Balthazar Valentine.
And we're back once more, folks. Every fortnight we come to bring you the latest and greatest in all gaming-related and New Zealand-related goodness. I just wanted to ask you guys, we've just had another long weekend. Waitangi Day.
Tis the season of the long weekends, isn't it?
It really is. This is going to be the first week I'm having to work a full week in about 2 or 3 weeks now. So I'm dying. Not literally, but
5 days in a row where you have to get up and actually do something.
Oh man, it's going to be rough. Getting up at 10 to 8 to get to work by 8 is always tricky.
Is that literally your morning routine?
I'm not going to lie. There may be some truth to that.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah. But what did you guys get up to for Waitangi? Anything special or just a cruisy one?
Balthazar, he's got a blank look on his face like, oh.
So bad lately with all these long weekends blurring together into a mess of realising I've done nothing with any of them. I probably played stuff and watched stuff. That's
Any TV recommendations, Balthazar?
Oh, yeah, I've been getting into lately, actually, is the Big Fat Quiz of Everything.
I love it.
Yeah,
love it, man.
So watching a lot of that lately. So that's not even on Netflix or anything. That's just, I'm watching it on YouTube.
So
some
for
random
those
user.
Do you want to sort of go into what that is a wee bit?
Yeah, so it's just it's a BBC quiz show hosted by Jimmy Carr, and it's kind of typically there's one a month that comes out, and then one at the end of the year, and so it will be kind of like January 2015, the Big Fat Quiz of January 2015, and then it will be broken into categories, and it will be sort of world events that happened in that month, events in television, events in music, and yeah, it will just kind of be a comprehensive breakdown. And for me, as someone who doesn't really pay attention at all to what's going on in the world, it's where I get all my news from. I mean, yeah, I'm a year behind now because I'm watching the 2015 series at the moment. So, I'm finding out what happened 2 years ago. Honestly, and then after that, I'll find out what happened last year. And then by then, it'll probably be halfway through this year, and I'll start to find out what I've missed on so far this year. So, yeah.
But you're right on the bleeding edge of Final Fantasy 14. So,
gotta be, all the time.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And to be fair, I think if I had a choice, I would pretty much always get my news from a satirical British man. So
absolutely, yeah. There's your usual suspects on those panel shows. Your David Mitchells, Richard Ayoade's, Noel Fielding's. It's really good. Yeah, I really enjoy the British quiz, that quiz of the year as well. And there's also another one if people want to dive into that sort of satirical news type thing, is Charlie Brooker, the guy behind Black Mirror, actually does a thing called Yearly Wipe, or 2016 Wipe, 2017 Wipe it's called. He just puts the year on the end, and it's the sort of driest humor you can possibly find, and it's phenomenal. They the British early last year had a thing called Puddle Watch 2016, where there was a big puddle forming around Newcastle, and the puddle was just being live streamed, and I think at one time there was about 400,000 people watching the live stream of the puddle.
Of the puddle slip.
So it blurs the line between satire and real life. It's absolutely insane.
Amazing. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah,
Love
that's
it.
Great.
Reagan, what about yourself, man?
Waitangi Day. I think I actually kind of did nothing, which was good. That weekend, obviously 3 days off in a row is pretty special.
Yeah.
I think the Saturday and Sunday we did things, and then the last day I might have just spent playing computer games.
Nice one.
Yeah, I've just been on for whatever reason, I got hooked back into Battlefield 1. I don't know why. Like, I think I just looked up to see what trophies I were missing and dived in to try and tick them off the list.
Yeah,
but
still a strong player base going there?
Yeah, absolutely. Still essentially 0 wait times for getting into games and things like that. So, yeah,
nice.
no issues there at all. And in fact, I think probably now it's getting to the point where it's a bit more entertaining because it's quite challenging and that all the old hats are still there. And, challenging and frustrating. Those kind of games just make you want to kill yourself sometimes. But
I remember I picked up Battlefield 1, played through the campaigns, played an hour or two of multiplayer, and then I was like, all right, now I'm done. I keep dying every time I spawn. Not quite a snap disc. We didn't get that far. It was more you're straight on, I'm selling you right away. You're going straight online.
Yep, you're going straight to the sell pile. Yep,
that's the one. Yeah. Every Battlefield I've bought, I've thought that, there's been part of me that's like, oh, maybe this will be the one for me. No. I always end up selling it about a week after I buy it.
Yeah, totally. What about you, man? Waitangi Day? Anything big going on?
Not too much. I've recently, I sort of just sat around on Waitangi Day reading, to be honest. I didn't even play many games, which is a bit blasphemous coming, that we're a video game podcast, but the books I was reading, thankfully, were gaming related.
Nice.
So I'll give you a brief synopsis of each one. I bought 2 books off the bookdepository.com, which is a fantastic website. Very, very cheap books. Some of them are secondhand, and they just take a while to get to you. I think mine came from the UK. So as long as you're all right with waiting sort of a week and a half, you can get your books for, $10 to $15 kind of thing, which is awesome. Because I heard these 2 books recommended on another podcast, and immediately went on this website and found them straight away and bought them. So,
nice.
Can't get better than that. So, yeah, the 2 books, the one I've been reading so far is called The Xbox 360 Uncloaked. And this is the story of sort of all the business and marketing that went into building the Xbox 360. So it sort of starts from the midway through the original Xbox being built and how, when they pitched it to Bill Gates and Steve Ballmer, they pretty much ragged on it and said, this is an outrage. This goes against everything our company stands for. And eventually they sort of came around on it. And, obviously Xbox is now one of the biggest, biggest companies or biggest divisions of Microsoft.
That's pretty cool. Interesting.
It's a really, really good book. It's, it gives you a sort of an industry inside take on the software that they were, they knew Halo was their big thing. So they went all out for Halo kind of thing. And then Halo 2, everyone's always been wondering what happened to Halo 2, because I don't know if you guys have played it, but at the end, it just sort of ends. It doesn't really wrap up or anything. And why that happened is because Halo 3 was originally supposed to be part of Halo 2, but they essentially just ran out of money. And Microsoft was just like, nah, we've given you enough already. And so they just had to essentially just cut it in half.
Oh, wow.
I disagree with the statement. It's really cool
hearing about stuff like that, eh?
I disagree with the statement. It just ended, though. I feel that there is no better ending to a game than, what are you doing going into the sequel? As long as the protagonist acknowledges he's going into the sequel, then that's a perfectly valid ending for a game, Abe. You shut your mouth.
Is that Borderlands by any chance?
I don't know. Not played those games. I just mean that's pretty much how Master Chief ends Halo 2, isn't it? What are you doing, Chief? Finishing the fight.
Yeah,
he's Batman now as well, apparently. But,
it just seemed a very strange and abrupt way to end that game. Good game, but yeah, very, very strange. So yeah, I'd recommend that one by Dean Takahashi. That's the Xbox 360 Uncloaked. The other book I picked up recently, I've been on a Doom bender. So I've been playing Doom, watching Danny O'Dwyer's wonderful Doom documentaries on the new Doom, or 2016 Doom, and I picked up this book's called Masters of Doom. And it's by David Kushner, and it's essentially goes into John Carmack and John Romero, the 2 Johns, who essentially founded id Software, and their rise to fame kind of thing. They're starting with Wolfenstein and Quake, and then Doom eventually, and just sort of how they grew up, playing Pong and playing these 3-pixel games, and eventually just became massive millionaires and started driving around in Ferraris. It's pretty awesome. It's it does go because they parted ways not on great terms, the two Johns. John Carmack now actually works for Oculus. It's owned by Facebook, which is probably the least heavy metal thing you could possibly, go from Doom to working for Facebook.
Yeah, I reckon.
John Romero now lives in Ireland, in Galway, and he's sort of over there bolstering the Irish gaming scene, which is actually rather big, which is cool because I didn't really know. Ireland apparently has more PlayStations per capita than any other country in the world.
Oh, really?
Yeah, incredible.
That's a pretty cool fact. Yeah.
It's really cool. Yeah, but I'd recommend those two books. If you want to jump on bookdepository.com, you can get both of them for about 30 New Zealand dollars.
Oh yeah. Have you guys ever looked into like the e-reader thing, like the Kindle stores and stuff like that?
I exclusively get my books on my phone.
Nice.
I just can't. I used to love having the physical book. I guess it's same with kind of games and stuff. Like you can get them all digitally now, but for some of them you just really want that physical, thing to have in your possession. Then when I did my last move, a couple of my books went missing, and that doesn't really happen if you've got them all digitally on your phone or what have you. And in the end, I repurchased them anyway. Sold the third one because it was a trilogy, and I lost two of them. So I was like, fuck it, get rid of the third one, get them all back on my phone. It felt like rereading the whole trilogy. And now there's no chance of losing it. So yeah, I'm purely digital with my books now.
Yeah, man, I'm totally the same. I got an e-reader a while ago, and it is the tits. Like, yeah, even the practical, like, I will admit that there's something really nice about having a tangible book, and that whole idea of like, the words are kind of, they're encased within this physical medium, and as long as you've got that physical chunk of paper, you can read it. But man, it's just so practical having it on an e-reader, like, lying in bed and being able to just kind of hold it with two fingers and read it really comfortably.
And not need to wake up whoever's sleeping next to you by turning on the bedside light or anything to be able to read because it's backlit.
Turning the pages.
Yeah, totally. Sorry about that. Sorry.
I'm pretty much the complete opposite to you guys. I love physical over digital any day of the week, except maybe games. I'm starting to come around on digital games just because that's super handy for me. But the books, like I recently bought a CD from a band that I saw open for another band. And I've literally bought the CD, and it's just, I haven't opened it. I looked at the booklet a wee bit. I haven't taken the CD out of the case. I just want the CD. I just want it. I just want having it. Like, because eventually I want a house with a wall that's entirely, CD cases. So I'm saving them up for that eventual, for
that plan.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I'm big about my physical media, so I'm enjoying having these books. Although I don't have a bookcase either, so that's been a bit troublesome. So they're just kind of sitting around on the ground, cluttering up the place. But no, definitely recommend those two books. Both very good. And there's a couple that I might recommend on more podcasts as well that I'm looking into. So we'll actually get into some proper video game talk. I've been playing a Ubisoft game, and now everyone's up in arms straight away. And it's pretty good, guys. It's pretty good.
What's the game? Tell us about the game.
The game is For Honor, and listeners of previous podcasts will know. Back in E3 2016, when we did that episode, I ragged on For Honor pretty hard for the fact that it looked like a bollocks hack and slash with, the characters looked like they had no weight. It looked just like Rise or something for Xbox One. Looked a bit rubbish, but I cranked this bad boy up because it's open beta, free, everything like that. That's all the incentive I need, and and it's really good. I'm really enjoying it. The characters actually do feel like they have weight. It has a really, really interesting control scheme wherein you sort of, if you see another player, you lock on using L2 on the PlayStation 4, and then you can sort of see the stance they're in. So they have high stance, low stance, or holding the sword to the left or holding the sword to the right, or the axe or whatever weapon they have. And you can there's a little indicator of what stance your enemy is, and if you're in that same stance, you can block them if you flick the right stick in that direction when they go to strike out at you. So it becomes almost like a rhythm game, but it's also you're waiting for your time to strike as well. So it's a really surprisingly deep system that it has in place. Reagan, have you been playing this as well?
I have, yeah. So I picked up. I saw it on the PlayStation Store on the front. And was like, yeah, fuck, why not? I mean,
yeah.
I'm kind of coming around to Ubisoft, to be honest. Like, they're making so many games. It's kind of hard not to play a Ubisoft game these days.
Yeah, I mean, you enjoyed your time with Watch Dogs too, right?
Yeah, I did, and you know, like, I'm coming around to it. They have their ups and downs, but no, For Honor I would agree. Like, it's perhaps not the kind of game that I would play, because it's sort of, I wonder at sort of the longevity of that particular.
Yeah, it's very one note.
Yeah, that set of mechanics. But there are certainly levels. Like, so you obviously described the core mechanic there. From what I can tell, it is going to be mostly online. So there's three factions. There's the samurai, the medieval knights, and the Vikings. And so they are doing war across a map. And so throughout the seasons, this map and the tide of this battle kind of changes, and you can see, you know, which faction is doing quite well. So that kind of adds another layer to it, I think. But for me, I really enjoyed my time with it, and the characters certainly have their weight and that kind of thing. I just wasn't quite sure whether it would be the sort of thing that would grab me for a long period of time.
Yeah, I mean, Reagan, there is also 3 campaigns that are coming with the full game, which launches this Tuesday.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So there's obviously there's you know, for those that don't know, the game is based around 3 sort of types of classes of character, which is Vikings, samurai, and knights. And there's actually going to be a separate campaign for each one of those classes. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is cool. Yeah, that's very cool. There could be some sweet storytelling that would go on there.
Very much so. And I think another thing that was just an incentive for me, when I play a game, I do a wee bit of research into the devs and everything. And the creative director behind this game, his name is Jason Vanderberg, actually seems like a pretty awesome dude. I've been listening to interviews with him, and he's just he's one of those really excitable, you know, he's really into what he's doing and he believes in it, and he's super passionate, and he's apparently had this idea for about 12 years, and he's been trying to pitch it to different studios for that long, and finally someone said, oh yeah, no, that sounds pretty good. So he looks like a Viking himself, which is pretty cool. And
that must be why
well.
I did wonder why in the imagery for the game, the Viking was the one right at the front. There's a Viking, and then the knight and the samurai sort of off in the background, and that totally, you know,
that's definitely him bringing his himself into the game a wee bit. I think.
Awesome.
He seems like a pretty cool dude. I can never fault someone for having passion. Even if I don't, you know, the thing they're promoting looks a bit garbage, I can never fault someone's enthusiasm for something. I think that's wonderful. So I think I'm going to enjoy For Honor. I'm going to keep playing it. I've probably played about 3 hours of it so far, and I'm going to keep playing it. So it's strange though, because the open beta was this weekend, and the full game comes out on Valentine's Day, I believe, on the 14th. So they've got about 4 days to take feedback from the beta and fix whatever needs fixing, which seems...
It was almost certainly more of a server stress test than an actual kind of bug hunting beta.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I would almost argue
avoiding that language.
Yeah, I would say that it's just one of those kind of promotional things. They go, let's just throw it out there. People can have a go at the core mechanic of the game, and if they like it, we might get some extra sales and things. And it's the kind of thing where you download the beta and you've already got a lot of the game data there. So then you just chuck in your credit card deets and away you go.
It's like the old tried and true Blizzard mechanic of give you a free weekend and then discount the game by 50%. So you're probably going to buy it.
Yeah, right. I fell for it. Smart. Yeah, big time. Yeah.
Well, the For Honor beta is available now on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. If you go to those stores, and there's also, if you go to our Facebook page, there I've popped a link in there for the beta, just directly to those stores to save you having to browse. And it's really good. I'd recommend it. So check it out. And Reagan, are you playing anything else, or is that about it?
That's kind of it. It's just more gun stuff. Been shooting guns. No, nothing too much to report on my side. I'm sort of I've been thinking about picking up a new game, and I was thinking about going old school. And I know, Abe, you're into Donkey Kong.
Oh yeah, better believe it.
Maybe a 3DS Donkey Kong or something?
Oh man, I can. Well, there's on the Virtual Console on 3DS, you can get my favorite game possibly of all time, which is Donkey Kong Country 3, sorry, Dixie Kong's Double Trouble. and that's available for I think it's like $13.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, you can get that one, or if you want, an up-to-date DK, you can get Donkey Kong Country Returns, which is the new one made by Retro, which is really, really good. I played it on Wii, and the port for the 3DS version is awesome. So you can pick that one up probably for, I imagine, 30 or something like that.
All right. Well, maybe I'll check into that, and I'll check back with you guys in the next pod.
Definitely, man. I want to hear everything related to Donkey Kong because, as you guys know, I'm a freak for that series.
Yeah,
so.
Totally. But nothing huge from me. Balthazar,
cool.
What have you been up to?
I've been playing 2 games mainly. I won't really touch too much on one of them. The first one playing kind of links into For Honor a bit. I've been playing Nioh, new release this week, just gone. Similar system to your whole, high stance, low stance, mid stance thing. That's all incorporated into the fight scheme of that game as well. I've only played probably between 5 and 10 hours at this stage, so I'm not really going to give a deep talk or review or anything because I feel like I'm still very much on the surface. So what I will say is if you are interested in getting first impressions and stuff like that, we did a stream the Friday just gone. You can check it out on demand. It's archived on twitch.tv/overcastgamerNZ. And yeah, just check out the video there. Me and Reagan, I was giving it a bit of a hoon, and Reagan giving some good bants at the same time.
Just sipping on some beers and just rambling away.
So Nioh is Team Ninja's newest, who infamous for Ninja Gaiden.
Yeah, and it feels very similar to my memories of the remakes of Ninja Gaiden for classic Xbox. And by feels similar to my memories, I mean it's painful at times when
intensely
you just
difficult.
Get absolutely raped by something you didn't see coming. And that's all I remember of those original Ninja Gaiden remakes, was that, it was the first instance of a truly brutal game I'd played. And just because Nioh is very different to Souls games, my Souls training has not prepared me for it. So it does feel very difficult at the start, but actually getting easier as I do play it. So that's why I don't want to talk too much about it yet. I feel like when I've had some more time and I'm a bit more experienced, I'll be able to give a more accurate,
more accurate assessment.
Yeah.
The thing that struck me about it was the art style, which is beautiful.
Yeah.
Really,
it is a
really
very
good
nice
looking game. All the monsters and what do you call them? Yokai or something like that.
Yeah, yokai.
They seem to be all really different, and they all just have so much going on with them. There's little, obviously there's cloth physics going on that caught my eye. But yeah, really, really cool looking game.
Yeah.
So,
and it is a PS4
exclusive
exclusive as well, which means you can enjoy that beauty running well. They've actually optimized it really well for the PlayStation. So
nice.
It's got that going for it as well. But the main game I wanted to talk about, because I finished it. I finished a game, guys. First time in a long time.
Good job, man.
I played through Resident Evil 7, or Resident EV dot, because they tried to hide the 7 as Roman numerals in the word evil and just turn the title into Resident EV dot.
They did, and it also has the subtitle Biohazard, right? So in Japan it'll be called Biohazard.
Yeah, Biohazard 7. Will they try to hide the 7 and will it be like B7O Hazard Biohazard?
So is Resident Evil called Biohazard in Japan?
It is, yeah.
Huh.
But they thought that wouldn't fly in Western territories, so they came up with what they thought was a hilarious pun or joke, because in the first Resident Evil, you went through a mansion in which the residents were evil.
Yeah. Brilliant.
But yeah, so
marketing gold.
I finished Resi 7, and you guys remember I talked about it when I started playing it and said I didn't want to bring it up on the pod because I did want to try and finish this game before I talked about it. Right. And I'm really glad that I did that, because this game changes so much throughout the course of the game. So as it starts off, it plays out much like a kind of a horror movie in which a victim is trapped in a house and is trying desperately to get out.
Right.
Because at the start of the game, you're effectively you go into a house to try and find your wife who's gone missing. You find her. Story events happen, and you end up being trapped in the house with these 3 or 4 sort of zombie virus altered immortals who will just not die and will keep coming, and you have to just try and get out while being ceaselessly pursued by them. And it was a really cool feeling. I really dug the start of the game because I was like, wow, this plays out very much more like sort of your Outlasts or your Amnesias rather than a Resident Evil game.
Yeah, much more restrained than previous Resis.
Yeah, and I thought that was really cool. And so now we reach the point where the game, it would probably be more accurate to say the game is broken in sort of 8 parts and it fluctuates. For simplicity's sake, I'm going to say the game proceeds in thirds. And for the first third of the game, you're this helpless person trapped in a house trying to get away from these evil residents. For the second third of the game, it reaches the point of survival horrors, which is my most hated survival horror gameplay development style, which is we've given you weapons to fight back, but we haven't given you ammo, and we're not making it clear each room you go into whether you're meant to fight or run from this particular encounter, and the only way to find out is to try fighting, and if you fail, run, or to try running, and if you can't, fight.
Right.
And I absolutely despise that. Tell me in the game if you want me to fight or run. I'm okay with either. Just make it clear what I'm supposed to do. So I absolutely despise the middle third of this game. Now, that's totally false. I really still enjoyed it. Just the actual playing of it frustrated me to no end. But it was, despite that, the locations were quite cool. Kind of the puzzles, very few and far between, but what was there was quite cool. And I really enjoyed the way, kind of the flow of the game, despite the fact that it was putting in my most hated mechanic, which is fight or run. We're not going to tell you which. Just try.
Right.
Then we reach the final third of the game, which every Resident Evil game does. So kind of, I hoped this game would be different, but it did follow the same core pattern, which is in the final third, you've got an abundance of guns, an abundance of ammo, kill everything. You're now an unstoppable zombie slaughtering machine, which was just such a departure from the start of the game. Because, I mean, always at the start of Resident Evil games, you know, you're not as competent, and then you build up that stockpile of things and become much better towards the end. But this one, the start was almost an entirely different game, so I didn't expect the ending to still be the same ending, where you just run through with a shotgun and a submachine gun and you just fuck everything up. So at the end of the game, I still enjoyed it. Good game. I do thoroughly recommend it to anyone who likes survival horrors, or who likes action horrors, or who has been curious about it, and for whatever reason you've held off on your purchase to see if we ever talk about it. I definitely recommend picking it up. It was a really good game, but it does travel in acts, and don't expect it to be the same the whole way through, because each act does play out completely differently, just in terms of gameplay, to the previous ones.
Right. It seems like the first third is more going down that PT route, that post-PT route kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then
I guess
they're slipping back into their old ways as the game wears on.
Yeah, and they sort of, I guess in a way it comes from the fact that also there was that old VR demo yonks ago, The Kitchen.
Yes.
Which of course was a prequel to Resident Evil 7. And so they kind of had to start the game with that in mind, the fact that they'd sort of already started to establish this, this world and this sense of dread and this feeling and everything. So they continued that for the start of the game, and then partway through they just reminded you, hey, this is Resident Evil, here's your shotgun, sack up.
Right. So you didn't play this in PlayStation VR, right, Balthazar? You played this just regularly?
I played this on PC.
Right.
I played this through Steam, but I did just play it on the TV with my control. And yeah, so I imagine in VR, I honestly don't imagine the experience being too different. The first third would probably be a lot more tense when you are kind of hiding from Jack. And there's one particular boss fight which I would love to do in VR, which is a fight against Jack where you've got a chainsaw and he's got a double-bladed chainsaw. And it very much plays out like the Obi-Wan versus Darth Maul fight at the end of Star Wars Episode 1, where you're like pinging your chainsaws against each other. And I would love to play that fight in VR. I think that would be really fun. But the rest of the game, I don't think it's one of those ones that's going to be too much better or too different with VR. Just certainly some moments that would be very cool in VR.
So do you think it would be the best reason to buy a PlayStation VR so far, though? Would you
Probably out of everything out at the moment, yes. I would say this game would be a fairly different experience in VR, and the experience would be different enough to warrant wanting to play it in VR, which in itself would make a good argument for getting the VR, yeah. So I'd say out of everything that is currently VR compatible, this game is probably the main thing you're going to want to be playing if you get a VR headset for PlayStation.
I mean, what else is there, you know?
Yeah.
I just want to bring up the setting really quickly, because that was I'm probably not going to play it because I don't really like horror games that much. I appreciate them more than I enjoy them. But I really love the setting. It's in Louisiana, right? It's down in the south somewhere.
In the swamplands, some old
bayou.
Yeah. So it gave me really big. I don't know if you guys have seen True Detective, the first season of True Detective. It gave me vibes of that television show, where it's sort of really, really bleak and depressing and just sort of out in the wop-wops, and anything can happen. There's people living out here that just aren't like anything anyone has ever seen, kind of thing.
It is a really cool setting. And yeah, I don't know, there's a lot I wish they'd done differently about the game. The setting is not one of those things. And there's, at the same time, I think the game as it is I don't like ever using this word to describe things, especially if it's not a game I would give 10 out of 10. But I actually do think that this game as a package is perfect. Like, I can't think of a way to improve this game without taking away from the core of the game itself. So even though I wouldn't personally give this game a 10 out of 10 as a game within its genre, as a game that set out to deliver a particular experience and do a particular thing, I'd say it does it pretty perfectly, to be honest.
Awesome. Well, that's Resident Evil 7. It's available now, and where would you recommend grabbing it from, Balthazar? You got it on Steam, you said?
Yeah, I got it on Steam, and I'd recommend grabbing it on Steam. I'd also there's a lot of talk online about the Steam version having terrible screen tear. I experienced this for a wee while as well, but I would still recommend the Steam one, because I found out I was just an idiot. I was experiencing screen tear because I forgot to set my display to only the TV when I was playing it on the TV. So I was in fact rendering the game on 3 different monitors simultaneously, and was overworking my PC and causing screen tear. As soon as I stopped that shit and told it to just output on the TV, it was absolutely fine. So I would say anyone who's experiencing screen tear is probably just playing it on max settings or higher settings than their PC can perform at. Right. So I don't think the game does naturally suffer from performance issues, and would still recommend the PC version, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's no fault of the game if you're trying to have it render 3 times simultaneously.
Yeah, that was my bad. I didn't, because I turned off the monitors, so I totally forgot. Like, I never noticed it was rendering to them. And then one day I went back in and just turned them on to quickly Google something, and I was like, that explains everything. That's it.
There we go. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm just going to dive into a few news items really quickly before we go into a feature, which I've been working on. But the first one I want to talk about is South Park: The Fractured Butthole, which has been delayed again, unfortunately, which is just killing me, because that and Yooka-Laylee were my most anticipated games of this year. And South Park has now been moved. It was originally slated for release in December, then it got delayed into Q1 of 2017, which is January to March. Now it's been delayed again into the Ubisoft's next financial year, which runs from sort of March 2017 into April or March 2018. So that's quite a long, if they're like, we're releasing it anywhere in between next month and a year away, that could mean anything. So I can't really hold out hope for that one anymore anytime soon.
It's an interesting one, and I think I mentioned this on the stream as well. Like, I think it's better for them to be upfront about the delay and say, okay, cool, well, like, let's be honest with our fans and say that this game could potentially be another year away. I would rather that than them err on the side of going, okay, we're going to say that it's 2 months away, and then have to disappoint us all again in that 2 months when they realize that it's not finished. Like, I'd rather than just go, hey, sorry team, we need longer, and we need a good chunk of time longer than just be continually disappointed.
My theories for the delay are that this game has been worked on for a while, and Matt and Trey obviously been working on it, and they sort of wrapped up the last season of South Park. My theory is that they're actually rewriting quite a lot of it due to the most recent change in politics and Trump becoming president kind of thing, because they had to actually rewrite an episode of South Park because of that they predicted that Hillary Clinton was going to win, so they wrote a bunch of the finale of that series, of the most recent series, was all centered around a Clinton presidency. And because Trump won, they essentially had to scramble and rewrite the whole thing. So I reckon that's probably bled into the game somewhat.
Yeah, totally. I would say so. Especially if they had planned, we're planning like the exact same situation with the episode.
Yeah.
It would make a lot of sense. I do wonder to what extent that, has happened here. That's a good theory, though. I like it.
Yeah, because I mean, in South Park, in the most recent series of the TV show, Mr. Garrison is essentially the stand-in for Donald Trump, and he gets in, kind of thing. Spoilers for real life, but he won. So I think Garrison was probably written as a completely different character, or had a completely different arc in the game before that happened, and they've obviously had to go back and rewrite, because Mr. Garrison's quite a prominent character in South Park, so they can't exactly just leave him out or anything. So it's a bit of a bummer, and I also now directly blame Donald Trump for me not getting South Park in the next 2 months, which is
I think that's fair, man. That's fair. Yeah.
Pretty big correlation there.
Much like the weather this morning. That's all Trump's fault as well.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
yeah. Rain shower as I was walking to the shops, and as soon I get soaking wet, and as soon as I get in the shop, it's bloody 29 degrees and the sun comes out. Can't be dealing with it. But the other thing I want to talk about, boys, is the PlayStation Pro recently had a sort of beta go out to some people, in which they tested out numerous features that have been added, including finally external hard drive support, which is awesome, and also boost mode.
Yeah.
So boost mode is essentially a function you can turn on and off, and it allows it sort of harnesses the power of the PlayStation Pro to work with those games that haven't been patched for Pro, or that came out previous to Pro's launch. So games like Bloodborne and The Witcher 3, which take considerable frame dives and don't quite function as well as you'd like them to, actually now run mostly around solid 30 FPS, almost locked, which is pretty awesome. Like this is sort of the thing I was this was the thing I was most after with the PlayStation Pro, was the promise that I could run my my favorite games at a steady frame rate. That's all I really wanted.
So I was kind of leaning back a little bit there, not making much acknowledgement of this particular conversation, because the PS4 Pro can suck a fat one. But did you just say that if boost mode is on, it should be able to mostly maintain a stable rate of 30 FPS?
Yes, I did.
So because it's still shit.
We know that consoles are never, essentially at this point, are never going to get every game running at 60 FPS. That's just not, it's not going to happen, kind of thing. You'd have to buy a console for about $1,000 for them to make any money back off that hardware, and they don't. Essentially, Sony and Microsoft take a loss on hardware and make it all back up in software. So I've come to the conclusion that they're never going to be able to make a console that runs everything solid 60 FPS. So as long as it's locked at 30 and I don't have to deal with frame dips. The Witcher wasn't bad, but in certain areas it would dip down, and that made me mad. But if it was just running consistently at 30, that's fine. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I think I watched a video on YouTube from Digital Foundry about it, and they had a few theories that in some particular games it would work really well, and some not so much, depending on whether it was a CPU-heavy game like Assassin's Creed, when you've got lots of on-screen NPCs and things like that, or whether it was a GPU-heavy game. So depending on the way that it skewed, the boost mode was going to do better on one or the other. So I think the example was something like what's the one with the catalyst in the name?
Mirror's Edge.
Mirror's Edge. Yes, thank you. Like that had a really good boost, and it hit like really solid frame rates.
Yep.
And as opposed to Assassin's Creed, where it didn't so much. So I think all it really does is a little bit of like factory overclocking.
Right. That would make sense, because I watched that Digital Foundry video as well, and Assassin's Creed Unity, which was the most broken game of the last 10 years when it came out. It was the one set in the French Revolution, and there was, one of the selling features was that there was so many thousand NPCs on screen at one time. That ran like absolute dog shit when it came out, and you could barely, it was running, sometimes dipping down to like 15 frames a second. And when I watched the Digital Foundry thing, it was now almost locked to 30 again, which is cool. Like it's doing what it was designed to do essentially. So that's that's sort of an incentive for me, and that's not me saying I'm going to go out and buy Assassin's Creed Unity, because apparently it's not that great a game anyway. But it's, I don't know, that's all I really wanted from the PlayStation.
It sort of sold me a little bit on, like, it gave me a little bit of context as to why they brought the PlayStation 4 out, the PS Pro out.
Yeah.
It just feels weird that it took them a while to get to that point where they kind of built that in. You would have thought that if they were going to build that hardware, they would go, actually, this is kind of what people are going to expect from it. We should probably do this from day dot. So it's, it kind of made me think, you know what, maybe I should do the upgrade. I won't, but maybe I should.
I thought the same thing, Reagan, and to be honest, if they had that come out on day one of the Pro's launch, I probably would have picked one up, because that's, as I mentioned, that's all I really wanted from the Pro, was consistent frame rates, and not to be taken out of the experience by a PowerPoint presentation happening in front of my eyes, kind of thing. So I think that's really interesting, and I'm a good move from Sony, I'd say.
And the hardware, the hard drive support too is going to be pretty cool.
Very much so, yes.
500 gigabytes is not enough.
No, stock standard PS4. Before the Pros, it was now the PS4 Slim. 500 gigabytes is. I have to delete games all the time. So the fact that you can install full games on an external HDD is pretty awesome. So that's all the news I've got to talk about. Unless you guys have got anything of note. No. Reagan, you have your third of your top 10 of all time.
Yes, my third. So far, I have had Final Fantasy VII and Red Dead Redemption.
Both of which no longer exist, I'll point out.
Both of which no longer exist.
My third, which didn't actually make the list of games to cull, was Spyro.
Spyro the Dragon.
Spyro the Dragon. This was a game that, for me at the time, sort of captured my imagination. It had the sort of the right level of, I guess, kiddiness to the game, I suppose, with some cool mechanics like being able to fly about and sort of these relatively open levels, collectibles, being a platformer, having this really bright, intense kind of art style, and having a little bit of tongue-in-cheek kind of humor in there as well. Like, from memory, the game starts with essentially the dragons taking the piss out of the I can't remember even the name of the guy who, the evil guy in it, and he just
Nasty Gnorc, that he pronounces Ganasty Gnorc because he's a baby dragon and doesn't know silent G's.
And so he steals all the other baby dragon eggs or something like that, and that's it. It's all the story you get, and then off you go, and you save the world, basically. And I don't know, there was just something that at the time in my life, it really caught my imagination, and I guess I really enjoyed the kind of character as well, Spyro the Dragon, and that he was... the game was named after him. He was a mascot kind of game hero as well. And it was, I think for me, it was just a timing thing. I just really enjoyed those games. I remember on a memory card slot, you could have 3 save games on a single memory card slot, and I had all 3 at 100%, everything collected.
Man, nice.
All the bosses done. So, that would probably,
Spyro was Insomniac, so this was before they did Ratchet and Clank. This was the precursor to Ratchet and Clank series.
Yeah.
And it also encompasses... It's the closest thing to Rare that isn't Rare would be the Ratchet and Clank and the Spyro sort of humor, I would say, sort of thing. So Spyro was always up against Crash, and then Ratchet and Clank and Jak and Daxter were up against each other. And
that's the thing, is that, like, Crash is fine, but Crash is balls hard.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
And when you're that age, you're not necessarily after a game that's that hard. You want a game that is, like, hard enough to make you feel satisfied that you've achieved something, yet still having enough of a difficulty curve that you can get through it with perseverance and and persistence. So I think it just kind of nailed that for me at the time.
Did Spyro, because I've played a little bit of Spyro, maybe demos and things like that, but I was always a big Crash fanboy, as you guys know. Did Spyro have a sort of open world thingy going on, or what was the deal?
So there were larger levels where they were sort of open world, but certainly not an open world where you were streaming a massive kind of
no, PlayStation wouldn't be able to handle that.
Yeah, so just large levels essentially, and you would move through the levels, which kind of made you feel as though you were, exploring different areas of this particular world. So it was certainly none of that, but I remember there being a fair bit of verticality to the levels and things, and quite a few different monsters to have to kind of learn and understand, and you had, I guess, different mechanics in that you could fly, you could do like horn rush bashes with your head, and obviously you had your your dragon flame, and all of these things could be like powered up as well. So you could by the, I think for an unlockable for finishing the game, you got this like magic super dragon's breath, that kind of thing, and that sort of stuff. So it was a cool mix of relatively straightforward mechanics just done quite well, I think.
Did it also have abilities that you got as the game progressed? Did you earn new abilities? Like, could you fly for longer, or could you do different things after you beat bosses or anything like that?
Yeah, I believe so. So a lot of them were just kind of introduced as you went through. So there wasn't really a tutorial at the beginning where it introduced like the head bash and the flame and the the gliding and all that kind of stuff. They were sort of brought about at the beginning or as part of the levels that you needed them in, and then they were introduced as kind of maybe plot elements as well. So it was less kind of upgrading your character and more just sort of like unlocking these mechanics as part of the story as you went.
Right.
If that makes sense. Yeah,
definitely, man. I mean, this also Spyro spawned a whole bunch of it definitely bolstered the mascot platformer genre kind of thing. But there was also, it spawned a bunch of weird clones like Gex Enter the Gecko and Ty the Tasmanian Tiger, if you guys remember those games.
Yeah. Gex was brilliant. Gex was like the South Park of platformers. It was kind of like the PS1 Conker's Bad Fur Day sort of thing.
Balthazar, go on YouTube after this and have a look at some of the Gex. Just look at some gameplay, because the voice acting is the worst I've ever heard in a video game. It is atrocious, man. It sounds like they were recording on an integrated microphone on a PC with the voice, because there's all this like in the background. It's horrible.
Yeah, I don't remember the dialogue, but I did play Gex Enter the Gecko on PS1 quite a lot when I was younger. And it was very referential. Kind of every level was based on, pop culture, movie or TVs of the time. Which was pretty great. But yeah, it is odd to think of those things as probably not existing without the influence of games like Spyro.
Yeah, definitely.
Have you played any of the newer ones, Reagan, with Elijah Wood as Spyro?
Elijah Wood as Spyro?
Yeah.
What the?
No.
Spyro happens to be my sister's favourite series as well, and she played some of the newer ones as well, and they've gone really deep with the kind of combo systems and kind of melee fighting mechanics of it now, with him kind of head bashing, tail bashing, because he's older now.
Oh, interesting.
And he's kind of a fully formed combat ready dragon.
Yeah.
And they went really well with it, but for some reason Elijah Wood is now Spyro. It's really weird.
Hang on, where are these games coming out?
I believe they stopped on PS3. PS3 were the last ones. And
the
Xbox
last one
360.
Any note, I think, was probably Shadow Legacy, and that was way back in 2005.
Right. Yeah. I remember Year of the Dragon. I think that was 3.
That was the third one. Yeah,
third one. Yeah,
2000. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's where my memory stopped of them. And once Spyro and Crash got onto PS2, they were absolute garbage, I think. So they just took a massive dive, unfortunately. But that's awesome, Reagan. So thank you very much for that. Next week will be my top 10. So look forward to that. Before we go, I thought it'd just be cool every month to run down some release dates for the month. upcoming games and things of note. So February 14th, which is next, what is it, Tuesday, is it?
Yeah.
Valentine's Day? Tuesday. Yep. So we've got For Honor, as we mentioned before. The full game of that will be coming out on Valentine's Day, so you can grab your loved one and bash their face in if you want. Or we should also mention that For Honor has split screen, so that's pretty cool.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, they've incorporated that. I was listening to the interview with Jason Vanderberg, and he said it was very important for him to have split screen because he loves couch, local co-op kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So yeah, definitely pick up For Honor. Halo Wars 2, which I'm pretty sure none of us really care about, but it is coming out on February the 21st for Xbox One, and I assume it'll be that PC Windows 10 crossplay thingy.
Yeah, it looks like it is.
We've also got Balthazar Nioh Automata.
Yep.
Or Automata. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. But that's coming out February 23rd, and that's Platinum, right?
It is, yeah.
It is Platinum, yeah. So are you going to be picking that one up?
Well, probably not on release day.
Yep.
But no, definitely excited by it. There's a free demo on the PlayStation Network, which I
very
urge
cool.
people to try out because, it's just a fun little demo.
I might go have a look at that. And the last one we have for the month of February is Horizon Zero Dawn, of course, which is February the 28th. That is looking to be interesting, and I don't know. I don't really know what to think about this one. I mean, Balthazar, you picked it as your shitbox of 2017.
Yeah, 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I mean, judging by some of those cutscenes that I'm not sure how early they are, but the ones that came up and just sort of appeared on YouTube, man, they really dropped the ball on their voice acting.
Yeah, the voice acting does seem pretty awful.
Yeah. But unfortunate there, because Reagan, I know you were quite excited for Horizon, but you'll still be picking that up. Maybe not on release, but
I'll still pick it up. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, sure. So it'll be interesting to see what becomes of that. But yeah, no, that's all for the month of February. As per usual, we'll be back in 2 weeks for all your gaming goodness. So stay tuned. Check us out on YouTube. Just Google YouTube Overcast Gamer. We're up to 61 subs. Need 100 to get a custom URL so I can start actually saying the URL, which should be awesome. We're also on Twitter at Overcast Gamer, and Twitch is twitch.tv/Overcast Gamer NZ. That's pretty much where you can find us. And we're on Facebook, but you can find us if you want. So yeah, thank you very much for tuning in once more, and we will catch you in a fortnight.
Okay.
Cheers, guys.
See you.
Yeah.
Door open.